Hello and welcome back to EOR Payroll and Beyond. In previous episode, we talked about what EOR Payroll and Beyond is, what this podcast basically means, what is Procloz, what are the challenges, and what are the common misconceptions about EOR global payroll and for different businesses. However, in this episode, we will be covering the nuances of EOR in the land down under. We will be providing an in-depth look at the EOR model in Australia, its legal framework, and why companies choose this route. I have with me Preet Kamal Gupta, who is the Managing Director for Australia and New Zealand for Procloz, who would be shedding light on the questions we have in store for our audiences. Welcome, Preet.
Hi, Mohit. Thanks for having me again. And, this is another opportunity for me to talk about Australia and New Zealand both.
Let's dive right into it then, Preet.
Sure.
All right. So, the first question, Preet, when companies think of expanding to Australia, why should they consider an employer of record?
Right. See, expanding to Australia or, setting up a company in Australia comes with complex legal, taxation, and compliance requirements. We all know that. An employer of record can simplify this process by handling all the legal and administrative responsibilities in Australia. So, which is a huge task. So, they take over all those responsibilities on clients or a new business's behalf.
Oh, great. So, we do all the grunt work and you just basically focus on growing the business.
Correct.
Awesome.
Right.
Moving on, what's unique about Australia's labor laws that make EOR an attractive option for businesses over there?
Right. Most of the people are aware, Australian labor laws are highly, highly complex. And
Mhm.
an EOR like Procloz has the expertise of local legislation to ensure that the employment, follows the national employment standards, which are like the documented employment standards under the Fair Work Act and also other taxation related compliances too.
Got it. Got it. Cool. That kind of makes up for the most of the groundwork, which essentially is
Yeah.
required to be done by a lot of legalities and complexities that come along with it. And I think Proclose kind of helps them do that by themselves, right?
Yes, that's right.
Awesome. So, what are some common pitfalls that you think companies face when hiring in Australia without an EOR? I mean, considering that
Mm.
we have covered the benefits of
Yeah.
why to get EOR, but then what are the pitfalls that the companies generally face?
Right. There are those legal, financial, and operational risks that we are aware of, including the compliances. There is risk of misclassification of workers, when you hire somebody in a new location, because specifically in Australia, there is a modern award system, which
Mhm.
basically outlines the terms and conditions of an employment for some employees who fall under certain industries. In addition to this, there are payroll and taxation errors which could happen as well, and then there is work rights, then there is visa classifications, the expat hiring, and then the major thing we talk about here is the extensive process that is involved in setting up a local entity.
Got it, got it. But then when you mentioned something about misclassification, how crucial is that for a business? Because I understand that the taxation and compliances, which is generally prevalent across the globe. But when we
Right.
talk about misclassification, it generally is very crucial for the business. Is that how it is in Australia as well?
Yes, definitely it is. It's extremely crucial to make sure that the employees are classified as either employees or the independent contractors. So this is why, the local expertise come into place where an EOR helps in that matter.
Got it, got it. And could you just give us a brief walkthrough of how the hiring process under EOR model works in Australia?
Right. Like I just mentioned,
Mhm.
Australia has got modern award system. So it we have to make sure that, when an employee is hired, a worker is hired, we follow the national employment standards, which is also called NES. So EOR ensures that the employment contract, which is provided to the employees, because EOR will become the legal employer in Australia, right? So we have to make sure that we follow those NES, including providing the information statement for all the full-time, casual, part-time employees, and it's one of the mandatory conditions, to provide that information statement, which is um, which is provided each year at the end of the financial year to make sure this is available for all the new hires from the 1st of July each year. So Fairworks provides that and updates that each year to make sure we follow the minimum working hours and those hourly rates as per the local legislation. And onboarding usually includes workers tax file number, their local documents, like passports or driver's licenses to make sure and the person's residence status is set up. And then one of the other documents is also the bank account details, which is part of the hiring process as well, and the location of work to make sure we understand where the person is located, because usually under EOR the workers are working remotely, so we have to make sure we record everything so we can are compliant.
Got it. Got it. So that basically covers up the companies and the organizations which are looking and exploring the EOR route. But I believe that Australia also has very strong employee protection rights as well. So how does an EOR help companies stay compliant on that front?
See, for that we have to make sure that we're following the Fair Work Act, which
Okay.
is the Australian legislation, which provides us the all the entitlements and all the employment standards, because EOR becomes the legal employer, so they have to make sure that they take up the all the legalities on behalf of the company, the business who is expanding into Australia, and they make sure that all the ATO is Australian Taxation Office, so we have to make sure that we comply with all those regulations as well. We are making sure that all the statutory payments are done and all the HR related compliances are also met.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Moving on, but then how does EOR help businesses looking to scale quickly in Australia? I understand that they'll help you set up you become the legal
Mm,
entity, the company becomes the legal entity over there, and you don't have to worry about all the complexities and the taxations.
mm.
But when we talk about scaling up and that too quickly for businesses, how does an EOR model help companies like that?
Right. Like other locations, setting up a legal entity in Australia as well may take weeks or even months, just because
Mhm.
depending on your presence, if you have a local director, if you don't have a local director, it may take a long time to set up a local office or local presence. But what EOR does is EOR just fast tracks all that and they
Got
initiate the process as soon as possible. That's the main thing about it. So they manage all the employment drafting, the payroll setup, the tax registrations. So the businesses, can focus on their own operations instead of just doing the administrative work in a new region.
Got it. Got it. So then, what are the key differences between using an EOR and setting up a local entity in Australia? I mean, why should company prefer opening up not opening up a company, but then looking at hiring an EOR company who can help us onboard employees?
Right. Um, I guess the main thing is that EOR offers a quick entry, the first thing
Right.
into the market, and that too under the local legislation. With managing all the compliances for the business. So setting up local businesses is an extensive process, like I just said, and
Mhm.
requires local establishment. So you have to make sure that you have your own office, you have your own licenses, registrations. You have your own departments and teams. So obviously that takes a long time to set up. And
Right.
yeah, and they will also need to register with all the payroll departments, the ITs, and the taxation office, whereas an EOR has an established local presence already, and they may serve as the beneficial and time-saving option.
Got it. Got it. Uh, are there any specific industries, and this is something which is stemming out of curiosity when we
That's
talk about
right. Yeah.
EOR in different parts of the world? There are definitely different industries that are being targeted
Mm.
specifically for EOR. But when we talk about Australia, are there any specific industries where EOR is more beneficial as compared to the traditional hiring?
Right. See, EOR is becoming very popular these days, especially because of the remote working. So
Hmm.
EOR can be utilized for most of the industries, is what I want to say, but is particularly beneficial for businesses who are looking at global expansion with flexibility and also fast track it. So the new markets are generally very tricky, and when we talk about Australia, Australia is also very tricky because there's lots of legal compliances that you have to follow, the tax compliances that you have to follow. But still, even if it's common to use it for most industries, the main industries that I have seen personally is the tech sector, and also
Mhm.
consulting, professional services like engineering and all those, mining as well. So basically, the companies who needs more flexibility is what I would say are using EOR these days.
Got it. Got it. And how does an EOR ensure compliance with Australia's workplace laws and tax regulations?
Right. So until now, we have spoken so much about EOR becoming the legal employer, right? So EOR
Right.
is actually the local expert with relevant labor licenses and tax registrations, as per the federal and state regulations. So they make sure, that they take full responsibility, on behalf of any other company, which is usually an overseas company. Obviously, they don't have a local presence. That's why they approach an EOR, and they ensure that the compliances are ticked with Australian Taxation Office, with payroll taxes, the workers' compensation, the work health and safety as well. So all those departments which are legislative under the Australian regulations, EOR makes sure that they have all those ticked.
Got it. Got it. And last but not the least, what is the biggest advantage that you think, using an EOR in Australia that most companies don't realize?
Right. So like we discussed, Australian labor laws are complex. I keep saying it because it's actually complex and it
I
takes an
totally
expert. Yeah, that's right. And EOR provides an end-to-end solution, which is from hiring to ending the employment, like, from hiring to offboarding. So without any complex issues, because we are the local experts, like Procloz, and EOR is a local expert under the Australian legal standards. So the biggest win is that you can hire an employee or even employees within just a few days. And it provides that flexibility to expand into new and complex Australian legislation and utilize the local skills talents for your business as well.
Awesome. Awesome. So it's basically expanding globally, but without the hassles of going through the taxes and the complications and the
Correct.
complexities of different organizations and different demographies. And I
Yeah,
think an ER would essentially benefit most of the companies who are looking to, invest into Australia or get into Australian talent pool, and
that's
obviously explore more avenues over there as well. And I
yeah,
think that
yeah,
kind of covers up majorly what we wanted to discuss about EOR in Australia, Preet. And I think you have given us a very deep, in-depth knowledge about it. We'll stay tuned for the next episode around EOR in Australia or payroll in Australia, and we'll see how it goes from there.
absolutely. I'm very excited to jump on that as well. Mohit, thank you so much for today.
Thank you, Preet.